Hey, welcome to the War Room. This is episode 5. Finally, episode 5. Who I am and why it matters. Hey, this will be my second video today. This morning I posted a video from my truck. Don't be the fool. If you haven't watched that video, it's about 10 minutes. Don't be the fool. You got to watch the video. Don't be the fool. If you're a new subscriber and you're just checking in and you've already subscribed in the last week or so, hey, thank you, and I sincerely appreciate that. All right, episode 5, who I am and why it doesn't matter. No, really, it doesn't matter. Man, I will never claim to be something or someone that I'm not. I just try to be the best version of who I am. That's all. What I've done, it doesn't matter. All right. I will never be on the level or the scale of some of the individuals that I truly admire and watch. And I've named some of their names on some of my past episodes. But I'm not trying to be that. I'm trying to be me. And I sincerely appreciate if you glean something out of these videos, even if it's a small, minuscule thing. So who am I? Well, I'm just a farm kid from Kansas who in 1993, I lived out a lifelong dream and I joined the Army. I barely made it in. I barely passed the ASVAB. ASVAB's not hard. It's just an aptitude battery, basic language, English, mathematics, a little bit of science, maybe some physics or something. I don't know. But I had to take that thing 3 times. But I finally got in. And because of my test scores, and I was a D average student in high school, I got like an 11 X-ray assignment. And then finally I get to Fort Benning, hey, 11 X-ray, you're actually going to be an 11 Bravo. I could have been an 11 Mike mechanic, wheeled vehicle, 11 Mike. I could have been a mechanic. I could have been almost anything. But I was at the bottom of the barrel. Straight leg, 11 Bravo, infantryman. No pinpoint assignment, no college bonus, and no specialty contract. Specialty contract, for the most part, is a guaranteed slot. Not that you'll make it. Guaranteed Ranger. You're going to go to Ranger School or Airborne. I had nothing that. The only thing I got is about halfway through basic training. They gathered all of us up and said, check it out. You all are going to be a cohort unit, meaning you're going to graduate on the exact same date. You're all going to get the exact same duty station. And you all are going to be Tropic Lightning. Woo, you're going to Hawaii, son. I can't complain about that. So anyway, I'm not going to inundate you with every boring detail of 22 years that I served on active duty. I'm not. But I'm going to jump to some pivotal moments that I think are worth sharing. But in some of my future shows, I'm going to talk about leadership. And in one of my shows last week, I spoke about an individual who played a pivotal role in forming me as a leader. Staff Sergeant Brian T. Norton, 1st of the 503rd Infantry in Korea. Yep, he's the one that sat me down and said, you're not cutting the mustard. And that was in 1999. It was at that point that I was like, you know what? Reality sunk in, and I said, if I'm going to do this, I need to do it and do it right. I made mistakes along the way, but I left Korea after 1 year, 12 months, and I was promoted to the rank of sergeant. I entered the NCO Corps, the non-commissioned officer corps, which I take very serious. I earned my EIB, my expert infantry badge. That was not an easy thing to accomplish, especially for someone who didn't have, at that time, I didn't have a lot of competence or confidence in myself. And then I went to air assault school. And then boom, I came back stateside, and now, man, I'm gonna fast forward to the year 2004. So here we are, 2004. GWOT is it's in full swing. Both Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, and Operation Iraqi Freedom. That's where I was headed in 2004. But before I got there, I looked around and I was like, I've accomplished a few things. I'm a staff sergeant now, and I want to try out. I want to volunteer for special forces. That's what I wanted to do. Wanted to be a special forces operator. So I volunteered, and I got a class date and a to go to SFAS, Special Forces Assessment and Selection. Now, let me just say, that's exactly what it is. It's just a mental test and a gut chest. I mean, a gut test. I said chest. Test. That's really all it is. It's SFAS is nothing more than, can you hack this without quitting, without getting hurt, without getting peered out? Because you pass this, you're probably going to go to the Q course and get qualified in whatever specialty, and then move on to the end of Robin Sage and graduate with that coveted Green Beret. I never even got, please don't mistake that. Never went to Ranger School. I did some other things. Talk about that in a minute. But here's the reality. I quit. Well, hey, Mike, a few videos back you mentioned never give up. Quitting is not an option. I know. I think we've all done it at one time in our life. And when that happens to you, you have to make a decision. Are you going to learn from it? Or are you going to make excuses? Because I've seen both. I have seen both. Here's the deal. On this really quick synopsis, I was entering approximately week 2.5 to week 3. I whizzed through the Nasty Nick. I'm telling you, I was a stud. I mean, for 50 years old, I look pretty good. Can't run anymore. That's not an excuse. It's reality. But I was a stud. 300 on the PT test for 10 years in a row. The Nasty Nick is no joke. If you can climb one 30-foot rope, what about 2? What about 3 30-foot ropes? What about 4? How about 5? Try about 6 maybe. I don't know. It's been a while. I am now entering a phase where they're going to test your land navigational skills. Up to that point, I was okay. Map, protractor, compass, no GPS. You're just hoofing it. I knew very little, but I knew how to land nav. But I'll tell you, I learned more about how to be a navigator in the woods than I had ever learned before, and I still use those principles today. I didn't know what a solid backstop was. I didn't know what a handrail was. I learned all that. But here's the deal. You had to get, when I went through selection in 2004, you had to walk away with 5 positive stars. Points. Land navigation points. I know classes change. I don't want to say the standard changes. Things change. In my particular class, you had to have 5 or more. I was at a point where I had 3, and they gathered us all up and said, "Hey, check it out. This is the final star. You have an opportunity. There will be. I think, I don't know if there was 5 or 4. Whatever it was, I only had to get 2 more. You didn't have to get them all in one night. Basically, the first sergeant rounded us up. And man, he played with us. He walked up to us. He was kind and courteous and respectful, but he was real. He goes, check it out. Some of you only have 1-star exam. Some of you have more. Some of you have 4. I want you all to go out there. Your life is depending on it. You have to pass this or you're going home. And the last words he said as he looked at us and he goes, and to be quite honest with you, I don't think y'all are going to make it. And he walked away. Now, that sounds kind of mean and harsh. I mean, shouldn't they be motivating you? They're not there to motivate you. They're there to test your will. Can you imagine that your career, the highlight of what you wanted in your career is within grasp? You have X amount of hours on a STAR exam and you only need to get 2. You should go for all of them. But here's my point. They just mind. And I'll tell you what, it got me. I'm just going to go all the way to the end. I was on a leg. I knew my handrail. I knew what my backstop was. I knew I was headed towards Bones Fork Creek. If you know what that is, I was swimming, depending on what time of the year. But hey, here's the reality. I got so far lost. I sat down on my rucksack. I looked at my map and I asked myself this one very important question. Where was my last known position where I knew without a shadow of a doubt where I was? And a car whizzed by. There I am, Mike Messmer, Staff Sergeant Messmer, sitting on his rucksack, adjacent to a hardball road at Camp McCall. I was at the far, probably eastern, I don't know, it's been a while. One of my cardinal directions, east or west. Here's the point. I was so far lost, I quit right there on that rucksack. I shed a tear. I packed it up and I went to the dead tent. And I'll leave you with this story because I still am proud of some of the things that I mean, how can you be proud you didn't make it? No, but I learned from it and it was humbling. It took me 2 years to get over the fact that I quit. Anyway, I came back from that, and then I had an opportunity to do something else. All right, I went to sniper school. It was a little bit different. I'm not going to take time to explain that. But I will tell you, I spent 7 years as a U.S. Army sniper. All right, I never went to SODIC. I mean, that is for a select individuals if you know what that means. I've worked with people who have been to SODIC. We had 2 Special Forces guys in my class. Well, how does that happen, Mike? Remember I told you GWOT was just kicking off? Every available SOF forces, Special Operations Forces dude, doesn't matter what branch, Navy, Army, you name it. Air Force was tapped out. Man, we were sending all of our assets, number one, right into the heart of those 2 countries that I named, all right? So what happens when dudes graduate and they go to a unit that's already been forward deployed? Well, I don't know really what happens, but one of the things that happened with these dudes, they didn't deploy right away. They're not quite ready. So they said, hey, can we jump on board with your sniper school? Absolutely. You know, the cadre, they're not going to say no. I mean, we weren't like tapped out as far as numbers. Here's my point. I even learned some stuff from them, all right? One of those guys quit. The other one, anyways, you gain experience through experience. And in 2004, I went to U.S. Army Sniper. I completed the course. You see the certificate right behind me. I have an actual DD form, Department of Defense form, or it might be a DA form. I'm sorry, maybe a DA. Anyways, I have the graduation certificate locked in. It's in my records. You know what's not in my record, and I will never fluff and bluff it. I don't have a Bravo 4 identifier. I don't, but I'm still a sniper. I learned more about how to be a real sniper after sniper school than I did in sniper school. Let's wrap this up. Deployed to Iraq several times, once as a sniper. I messed that all up. I mean, nobody really knew what we were doing. How can you say that, Mike? You know what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about us, the regular Army. We learned a lot of hard lessons quick, fast, and in a hurry, including me. Here's my point. I just said I spent 7 years either deployed as a sniper or training others to be snipers. And I got better and better and better all the way to the end of my career when I actually deployed to Afghanistan and still taught or attempted to teach some Afghan, because it'll blow your mind. Hey, Mike, we know that the ANA, the Afghan National Army, Afghan National Police, and whatever, they got a package. And in that package is all kinds of NATO stuff. I don't want to jump to what just happened recently. Like real recently with Afghanistan. Here's my point. I watched $100,000 worth of brand new refurbished bolt action Remington 700 M24 sniper rifles with $3,000 Leopold mil-dot reticle scopes get jacked up. $100,000. Do the math. Each one costs approximately $5,000 per system. Man. Anyways, let's fast forward to my retirement in 2015. Sergeant First Class. I was ready to retire. My family was ready for me to retire. That's a lot. And I have friends that have spent 30 years. I salute. I have friends that are special forces. I salute. I have friends that just graduated and Sergeant's Major Academy. Salute. I have friends that never deployed to combat. And they did their 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 years and they got out. Salute. Because there's going to be individuals that know me that watch this and they know how I feel about them. I've got nothing but mad respect. You know, speaking of respect, I do respect all veterans, all branches. I'm biased to my particular branch. But if you're a veteran, I will never take anything away from you. But I am going to have a show. Soon, I'm going to have a show. And I'm going to talk about my take on the difference between a combat veteran, legitimate, versus a peacetime veteran. And it's probably going to upset some individuals. It probably will. But hey, in a nutshell, I'm a better individual today than I was when I first joined the Army. I had some hardships. I had some great times. All right. Nothing like flying in a helicopter, heat cast out of a CH-47 Chinook into a lake. Just all these different things I could share with you. The principles of leadership and discipline. The good, the bad, the ugly. The good, the bad, the ugly. I didn't get what I wanted after my first 10 years, but I didn't let it stop me. And no matter what task I was given, I tried to accomplish that task with purpose, direction, and motivation. That's the Army's definition of leadership. Accomplishing a task by providing 3 things: purpose, direction, and motivation. Man, it goes a whole lot more than that, because there's been some leaders that I've had, and we'll talk about leadership later, that I don't know how they got promoted. And some of you are like, oh, I know. Here's the deal. I'm proud of my 22 years that I served in the regular Army. I'm proud of some of the individuals that I got to serve with, and we've had some great times. And so, in a nutshell, that's who I am. I'm a man who is married and has children, and I've made 100 mistakes, 100 million mistakes in that. I've made mistakes in my professional career, my personal life. I've done some things I'm like, that's not for me, time to move on. And now I'm in this chapter. I love to hunt. I support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. So help me God. Yep. I keep pointing this way, or this hand, the camera. Yes. I'm a man of faith. Well, what kind of faith, and are you going to talk about it a lot? I'll talk about it when I think I should talk about it. That's who I am. And at the end of the day, who I am, the war room, and why it matters, it doesn't. But again, if you tuned in and you got something out of this today, I appreciate it. That's who I am, and no, it does not matter. Woo! This has been episode 5 of The War Room. Thank you. And hey, whatever you decide to do the rest of today, make it good. The War Room. Thank you.